Hello and welcome. We're going to be starting soon. Thank you for coming early.
I'm not saying that that's right, like, you know, we don't have that conversation, that's certainly challenging for them. But with mom also, I think a lot of these things about, you know, the lack of clarity, oftentimes, you know, I read something.
Hello, welcome. We're going to start soon.
Hard to say, it's not true. We're hearing a hard thing, even if that's clear rather than ambiguous thing that sounds nice, and then right, yeah, so that is like, yeah, guiding for it. I think it's really accurate, like, people just want to know what the story is. So, you know, and I think that's true for the health thing also. Like, I just want to know that we can talk it out and, you know, talk it out. And we'll feel like we're making a trade. You know, if something that's hard for you about the new reality, like, it's hard for you to account and you look at how to, you know, make that easier or whatever it is. But, you know, so, you know,
Welcome everyone. We'll start shortly. Thank you for joining us.
I mean, definitely, you know, I actually. What? But I do think, like, you know, it is something that we want to, I would say, like, discuss with you, you know, in other contexts, like, you know, there are things even in our communication that try to not be open, but not always successfully. But you know, I've noticed things that I you know, would like discussions to feel a little bit different, or I have felt that not everything is from the people, maybe I was concerned also that people are not sure about what to, you know, discuss that with you and see what you think are relevant. You know, I think it's the same thing. Honestly, like, I think it might be something similar with Grand Rapids, where
Welcome everyone. We'll start shortly.
or, you know, whatever it is, and then we have to deal with it. You know, like it happened the other day also. That, you know,
We'll just leave one more minute for people to join.
Well, when we were like, leaving, I just felt like you didn't have all the information. Like, we got there, and I was like, that's a lot of masks. And my dad's like, no. Well, I don't want to do it. I mean, I didn't say that. But then, we're doing a whatever.
We'll just start in 1 minute. Hello, Stuart. Thanks for joining us. We're just going to start in 1 minute. Do you?
Hi, I'll be back in 15 minutes.
Okay, no problem.
But I'll just stay the first 2 minutes and
no problem. So we'll
at about 8:20, 8:25.
No problem. So we'll get started right now. Thank you everyone for joining us. My name is Gabi Novick, and I'm the coordinator for the international program at Machon Lev. Just an overview, this is our first open house. I don't know how many of the people on this call have been to other open houses, but I'll let you know how we're going to do this. I'm going to give a relatively brief, I want to keep it brief, presentation, really to open it up to your questions. As you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and I hope to cover those questions, whether throughout my presentation or afterwards. Happy to respond to any questions that you have. Also joining us right now is Stuart Hershkowitz, the Vice President and Overseer of the International Program. He's just joining for briefly now, but he'll be back later and share some words. As well as Professor Abba Engelberg, our Academic Director, will be on a little bit later. And some students as well are planning on, current students in the program are planning on joining us to give you their perspective. Machon Lev. Machon Lev, we are a college in Jerusalem. We're celebrating our 50th year this year. I just want to clarify some of the misconceptions, or not misconceptions, some of the confusion. Machon Lev and the Jerusalem College of Technology are one and the same. There's the English name and the Hebrew name, but they're one and the same. Machon Lev is the program for men, and Machon Tal is the program for women. The Jerusalem College of Technology, or the Lev Academic Center, is the broader college, which, as I said, is celebrating their 50th year this year. We have, like I said, 2 separate campuses for men and women, which we'll discuss more later. And we have thousands of students, many different degrees that are offered in Hebrew. I believe 6 or 7 full degrees that are offered in Hebrew. And in the international program specifically, we have 2 that we're going to speak about in a second. I'll get to the Jewish component I guess I'll mention that now because that came up already in terms of our separate campuses. We have separate campuses for men and women. Our college is a completely Jewish religious institution, meaning that, hold on one second, sorry. It's a completely Jewish religious institution, which means that we have separate campuses for men and women. It also means that all of our academic courses take place in the afternoon to allow for Torah learning in the Beit Midrash in the mornings, that's required for any of our programs, both in the international program as well as in the Israeli Hebrew-speaking program. We have off for all the Chagim, which includes Hanukkah, not just Yom Tov. We have a large central Beit Midrash on campus, where there are shiurim that take place every day, as well as numerous minyanim. So you can always find mincha or a mariv and shachrit as well. All the food on campus is obviously kosher, and added to that fact, added to the religious component, is that all faculty on the men's campus are male. It is a very religious. It is open to a very religious environment, which means that if that's something that matters to you, if that's something that's meaningful to you, I don't know that you will find anything comparable to that. Really, I could say possibly within the world, that has both the academic side, but as well as the really serious Jewish religious component. I'll just move now to speak about our degrees, and I'll show you. Right now we're on our website, and I'll show you where you can find more information as I speak about them. So if you go to our website, which is jct.ac.il/en. If you go to the special programs in English, you'll find more information about our programs. Here's the program brochure, which we'll review a little bit. Here's programs for men, programs for women. If you click on programs for men, you'll find all the information on the men's program. The men's program has two different degree options, a degree in computer science and a degree in business administration, both of which are full degree programs. You graduate after 3 years. Both degrees are 3 years long with a full degree in that field. The business administration degree is more part-time and has classes from 2 to 3 days a week. And the computer science degree is more full-time with classes 4 days a week. Again, all classes are offered in the afternoon, except for Friday, obviously, when classes are in the morning. In the computer science field, you'll learn, you can review this information. This is all online. You'll learn everything you need to know in computer science, all the languages, Python, C++, as well as hardware of the computer in addition to that. So you'll have all the information that you need for a job in computer science, which certainly is a hot field in Israel, but really worldwide. In business administration, you'll learn really a broad range of business topics. You'll learn marketing, management, economics, finance, everything in that regard. I'm trying to think if there might be an accounting course as well. If you scroll down, you could see business law, things of that nature. Business, it is a relatively broad degree. It's not specialized, which means that many of our students go into a wide range of topics, a wide range of job opportunities after their business, after completing a business degree at Machon Lev. They'll go into possibly investment banking, marketing, startups, finance, wealth management, things of that nature. But definitely is a very broad degree. In terms of tuition costs, tuition for the program it's the same as the equivalent Israeli program. So for Israeli citizens, tuition is around 10,000 shekel per year. For non-Israeli citizens, for what they call tourists, tuition is 13,000 shekel per year. For Olim Chadashim that qualify for the government benefit, it is completely free and covered by the government. That's in terms of the full tuition costs. In addition to tuition costs, there are added costs of dorms. If you would like, it's not required, but there are dormitories available, which cost around 9,000 shekel per year. In addition to that, there is the Beit Midrash, if you would like to learn on campus, which we'll speak about a little bit later. The Beit Midrash costs around 5,000 shekel per year. And then there's obviously food, which is a pay-as-you-go system. As much as you would like to eat in the cafeteria, that's how much you'll pay, and you'll be billed at the end of every month. In terms of that's in terms of cost. In terms of facilities, I just want to get to that because we spoke about some of the things, including Beit Midrash and cafeteria. We have dormitories available on campus. We're actually in the process of building a new dormitory building, so I don't think it'll be ready for the start of the year, but soon thereafter, I think November time maybe, or December time, it should be ready to move into, which will be a very nice new dorm building on campus. In addition, to the existing dormitory buildings, which are there. There is a married dorm building. It's not simple to, it's very high in demand. So it's very hard to get a space in the married dorm building. But even for singles that are on campus, it's very nice to have couples around that will host people for Shabbat meals. A number of the couples there are English speaking. So that's a nice availability. We also have, I'm assuming he's not yet on the call, but we have our dorm. Oh, he is. Hi, David. Our dorm counselor, David Samuels, is currently a third-year computer science student. We'll have to find a new dorm counselor once David leaves us. He's actually going on to do the Army next year. But we have a dorm counselor available for anything that you need in the dorms. Do you want to speak a little bit about the dorms, David? Are you unmuted?
Okay, yeah, I'm unmuted. Yeah. So the dorms, it's really, I mean, Corona aside, it's really a very warm atmosphere. Um, there's probably currently about, I would say maybe generally around maybe 10 to 10 students from the international program who are in the dorms on a regular basis. And we kind of make our own little community. Definitely interact with the Israelis around as well, but we all kind of help each other out. There's plenty of people in the community nearby who help us get Shabbos meals and whatnot. But it's like having your friends around you on a regular basis where you can just go hang out, either work on homework if you have that together, or just chill. I always feel like I have a piece of my family with me, and Gabi didn't tell me to say that. Uh, yeah, it's really nice. There's also some great facilities on campus that people in the dorms have ready access to. So I don't know if you mentioned yet the gym or the game room, ping pong. There's foosball. There's pool. There's Xbox and PS4 and crazy stuff that I used
And
at the
and the
very beginning of my
library.
degree, and the
And the,
library. At the beginning of my degree, I spent more of my time in the game room, though it only opens in the evenings. And then very soon, I started spending a lot more time in the library. But to each their own. There's washing machines and dryers on campus are much more affordable than most yeshivas, like 4 shekel a wash, 4 shekel a dry. Very convenient. I basically have everything I need. There's a Shufer Sal, a grocery store within very close walking distance, and there's buses, readily available, like very close as well, to get to the Tachar Merkazin anywhere you would want to go. So basically, I got everything I need. Good environment, and I'm happy. Too bad I can't live here while I'm in the army too.
Thank you. Yes, just to add on some factors, dorms usually have 2 people to each room within the international students, and international students are grouped together. So we try to make sure that your roommate speaks English as part of the international program. Someone's just asking, are you allowed to cook in the dorms? People in general bring in things. I would say, what's the general policy, David? Yeah. Within reason, I would say, as in microwave, hot water urn, things like that. I would say if people see smoke coming from your room, that's not a good sign. But most people, I think, have microwaves, toaster ovens, something along those lines. There is I would say, a small kitchen area, which is, just to clarify what a kitchen means. It's just a desk. It's a countertop with cabinets, so you have that available. What else in terms of the dorms? There's also a men's mikveh there. There's one of the Rebbeim lives there on campus as well, so there's a sukkah there for Sukkot. So there are a lot of really nice things to living on campus, but again, that's not required, and that's a personal decision everyone can make on their own. Like David said, we have a beautiful gym, completely renovated workout room. So it's really nice equipment that you can use on campus, and a very nice library. I can't say all the books, but definitely a lot of the books are in English. So don't think that you're coming to Machon Lev and everything's in Hebrew. There definitely are a lot of options in English. Also, I'll take the time to mention the Beit Midrash. We have a very large, nice Beit Midrash on campus. There are shiurim that happen there every morning. There is also a Judaic Studies library, which with tons of svarim, pretty much anything you could find is there. In terms of printers, someone's asking in terms of, David is posting about picture printers. Yes, there are printers all over campus, and you can access them. The way it works is you can send a document to go to print and access it from any printer available on campus. In terms of the cafeteria, sorry, I should mention that as well. There is a large meat cafeteria, where again, you could order food on any given day and they'll bill you at the end of the month. So you don't need to sign up for any meal plan. You could decide on the spot on how much you want to eat. And in addition to that, there's a smaller dairy cafe that's open for more hours in the day. So earlier and later, you can grab something at the dairy cafe, which will have sandwiches, I think pizza, soups, and other things, as well as junk and snacks. So you can and coffee as well. So you can grab things there. If you live, someone's asking, if you live outside of campus, can you use the facilities? Yes, pretty much all the facilities, as far as I can think of, the cafeteria, the cafe, the workout room, the library, everything is available to you. Sometimes just more convenient to live on campus because then you have access to them, you know, for you know, in theory, any hour you wish, although all things do close. The library, the workout room do have hours. But at the same time, you do not have to live on campus, and you definitely can access them from, even if you're not living in the dorms, including the men's mikvah. Even if you're not in the dorms, it's on the lower floor, but you can access that as well. Okay, I'll just continue, I think, to speak about the registration process at this point. And people will, I'm going back and forth between the chat, so feel free to put things in the chat if you have any questions. In terms of the registration process, I'm just going to share my screen for a second. If we go back to our website over here, on the right-hand side of the website is online registration. If you click that, it'll send you to our online registration website, which you will begin to fill out. It is a regular standard form. Most of the information is simple, easy, basic information about who you are and where you're from, and how to we reach you and things like that, and your background information, where you went to school, things like that. At the end of the registration form is a 300 shekel registration fee. They need that in order to process your file. And then we'll be in touch throughout. As soon as you register, I'll try to be in touch with you. I should be in touch with you within 24 hours of you registering. Sometimes it takes a bit longer, but definitely within the week, I would say. And I'll ask you for a couple of documents. I'll just mention them now, but you don't have to take notes. You don't have to memorize them. They are, number one, a picture of yourself, a copy of your passport or taudat zehut. Your your full high school transcript, that means all the grades that you received in high school, and your high school diploma, and then an additional test score. The additional test score could be the SAT or the ACT, if you're coming from usually the US or Canada. It could be the GCSEs or the GSE from the A levels from England. Trying to think what other exams. From Australia, it's the ATAR. There are different, I don't know where everyone's from. There are different exams from different places, but feel free to send in any exam that you have. The registration department will review it and let you know if that's sufficient. There's an additional exam. If you're in Israel, there are 2 exams in theory that you could take. One of them is called the psychometry, and which is more geared towards Israeli citizens. If you're not an Israeli citizen, it might be difficult to take that exam. And the other exam we would recommend is called the TIL exam, T-I-L. And that exam is offered actually in, I think, 6 or 7 different languages. So you can take it in any language you want, whether it's English or Spanish or Russian. I believe it's offered in all of those. So feel free to, if you need to take that exam, we could be in touch. I'm happy to send you all the information. But feel free to take that in any language that you'd like. I'll just quickly answer 1 or 2 questions, and then I want to throw it off to Yehuda Arabak. I see is joining us now. He is a second year. Did I get that right? Second year business administration student. Okay, is there an option to start from the second semester? In general, no. In general, it is a little bit hard because there are prerequisites that you'll take in your first semester. They'll make it hard to start in the second semester. That's more true of computer science, which has a lot more prerequisites because a lot of computer science is building. From the basics of computer science to more advanced computer science. In business, it's somewhat true, but in theory, it might be able to be doable depending on what your background is and if you're coming in with any college credits. But it's definitely not something we recommend. So feel free to be in touch. Happy to figure out your specific case and if it's doable. Is Hebrew taught in this program? Is it an elective or mandatory? It is not taught at all in this program. If you're planning to stay in Israel, we highly recommend that you do Ulpan. We don't have an Ulpan option available for the international program, but there are plenty of Ulpans in Yerushalayim, and we definitely we would advise you to find something that works for you, especially if you're a Oleh Chadash, then you do get a benefit to do some amount of free Ulpan. So we do recommend you use that. I'll just turn it right now. Thank you very much to Yehuda for joining us. Yehuda, as I said, is a second-year second-year business administration student. Just curious, Yehuda, how did you decide to come to Machon Lev, and how are you enjoying Machon Lev?
First of all, hi Gabi. Hi everyone. So when I first started at Machon Lev, well, I was trying to find a place that had essentially a convenient schedule. For us in the business program, it's only Tuesdays and Fridays. And I was looking for a place that would teach in English. So there are other options, but Machon Lev was really the only place that had a combination of both. Once I got there, I really was able to experience, how much I actually enjoyed the overall student campus experience at Machon Lev. I don't know if you're planning on living there or you're going to have an apartment nearby, but it's a gorgeous campus. A lot of the labs are really state of the art. The teachers are really receptive. I know there are some schools out there that, even in America or whatever, that the staff can sometimes be a little disconnected from the student body. So here we really are, we're able to develop really good, positive relationships with the professors. And I think overall, I've had a very positive experience.
I'll take this point to mention that Yehuda is in. Am I allowed to say where he learns or lives? I don't want anyone coming knocking at your door. But Yehuda learns at Yeshiva Shalavim. Part of our program, we do have a Beit Midrash Torah learning component, but we do allow for students to learn in any yeshiva that they choose. So you can choose to learn in a different yeshiva. And just come to us for courses, or you can choose to learn in our Beit Midrash. So if there's a yeshiva that you're particularly have a connection to and want to learn there, that is definitely a possibility. Yehuda is one of those students that is learning in a different yeshiva, and we have many such students definitely within the business program since it's very part-time. Thank you, Yehuda.
Yeah, I would agree. I also just wanted to say that based on that, kind of going off that point, Machon Lev is not out there to just put you through the school and hopefully you pass and maybe you don't and whatever. They're really here to help you through it and give you whatever you need, the tools, and they're willing to just be there and help you through. They're not here to just give you the education and whatever you do with it, that's up to you. I've really felt at every step that they've really been helpful. They've been outgoing. They've been looking for feedback, and they're really willing to change based on, what we think needs changing. So that's something that I found is really unique and certainly really helpful and positive.
Amazing, thank you. I'll just take the time to mention that David is still on the line, and Yehuda, it seems like is still on the line. Please feel free to leave if you're busy, but if anyone has any questions they specifically want to ask to a current business or computer student, please feel free to put them in the chat. I'm happy to share that as well. And Daniel Broderick is also joining. He's a first year business administration student in the program. We'll turn to them in a second. I also want to acknowledge that Stuart Hershkowitz is back as the vice president of Machon Lev. I am going to unmute. Stuart, would you like to speak a little bit about the program?
Students want to speak first, that's fine. But I'll just say a few words now, and anyone has questions. It's really, Gabi did a great job of describing the program. The program's been around for a while. I just want to say that it's really a unique opportunity to be in Jerusalem, in a very good location, in a very good atmosphere. You heard from other students already. You heard from Gabi. And the program is also, it's extremely important to note that the placement rate that we have is very, very high. The computer program is extremely well regarded. So is the business program. We've done very well with the placement of our students, and coming out with a JCT diploma, particularly in computer science, but also in business, men or women, is very, very high regarded. With such a shortage in Israel of good computer people, I wouldn't say you're guaranteed a job, but it's highly, highly likely that you'll get a good job at a decent salary coming straight out of school.
Thank you. I also, all great points. I wanted to just expand on some of those things. To me, I think that there are three things that make this program very unique when looking at the programs that exist. Number one, we are the only undergraduate option within Jerusalem, in English, sorry. Only undergraduate English option in Jerusalem, which means that if you decide you need to be learning in English, you're not fluent in Hebrew enough to do a degree in Hebrew. So it means either you're going to do something in Jerusalem, which means our degree program, because there is no other option, or you're going to be leaving Jerusalem. So if Jerusalem is something that is the place that you want to be, I think that this really is the only option. The second thing is tuition. We are one of the most affordable, if not the most affordable, international program in Israel. Most others are charging similar to what the American model would be, but we are charging the exact amount that the exact amount as the Israeli program, which also means that if you make Aliyah, tuition is completely covered. And that is a huge factor to consider when some of the other programs are, I would say, even if you're looking at college in the US, it could be 10 times the amount you would pay to come here, possibly even more if you're making Aliyah, in which case it would be free. And the last factor, which I mentioned already, but again, I think it does make us very unique, is the Jewish religious component. I don't think that you're going to find any college that's accredited, recognized institution that has the same level of Jewish religious environment that we have at Machon Lev. And again, that based on the factors that I said, which I think makes us unique, but really just the entire environment, the entire staff, the professors as well. So that I think is significant and important. And I'm just going to turn it right now to Mr. Broderick. I'm going to unmute you. Remind me, you're second year business?
First year business.
First year business student. So what brought you to Machon Lev, and how do you like the program?
All right, so I learn at Shalavim, and initially I was going to leave yeshiva when I finished my 6th year and do a business degree in Bar Ilan in Hebrew. And then from Yehuda Auerbach, who is also on this chat, I found out that this program exists. So I made Aliyah 11 years ago, but I am a lot stronger in English than I am in Hebrew. And I can continue to sit and learn in yeshiva and then only have classes on Tuesdays and Fridays. It fit perfectly with my schedule, and it fit perfectly with how I want to continue living my life. An added bonus is that it's a religious institution. So there are minyanim for Shacharit, Mincha, and Mariv all the time.
Amazing. I'll just, sorry, I just blinked on what I was about to say. In terms of the Hebrew program. So he mentioned something that comes up very often for some of our students are debating between Hebrew or English. So I'll mention that two things. First of all, the same programs, both computer science and business administration, that are offered in offered in English as part of the international program, the same exact programs are offered in Hebrew at Machon Lev, which means that if you decide at any point in time that you want to switch from English to Hebrew, Hebrew to English, it is doable. We have had students switch back and forth. I don't recommend doing it every other day or every other semester. But I do, but it is possible. So if you're not sure what you want to do, don't think that you're committing, oh my gosh, I'm going to study for 3 years in English or 3 years in Hebrew. You definitely can switch. That's number one. Number two, in terms of the English program, the international program at Machon Lev, so for students that are debating whether to do it in Hebrew or in English, so that my main, like Daniel said, part of the question is, what are you more fluent in? What's going to be easier for you? I always, I think that shouldn't be that your language or your fluency should affect how well you're doing in school. You should become, fluent in Hebrew, but you should also do well in school. They don't have to be mutually exclusive. You don't have to sacrifice your degree, sacrifice your grades in order to learn Hebrew. That's at least how I feel. But in addition to that factor, I do think that with the international program at Machon Lev, I think one of the large bonuses, which I think Yehuda was speaking about, is just the small class sizes. The entire program is about 100 students in total within 2 degrees, 3 years each. So if you divide that up, it's around 20 students per year, per class, which means that the professors really know the students and the administration knows the students. So we have the ability to work together to help students out. I think the students themselves know each other. They'll often study for tests together. They'll talk to each other about homework assignments and things like that, which I think is much more uncommon in the Israeli program, which could have 100 students in one class. Just a story about that is it now happened pretty much every year, but I remember, I think it started 2 years ago, where specifically for the international students, Pesach vacation is not necessarily enough time, because most of our students are traveling overseas to be with their family who does not live in Israel, and then they don't have enough time to get back to Israel for when classes start. So we spoke, as in the academic director of the program spoke with a number of students about this issue, and they figured out that there really is an issue. This really does affect a number of our students. And so the academic director of the program spoke with a number of the professors in order to extend the Pesach vacation specifically for the international program. So that their Pesach vacation went, I think, an extra week or so to make sure that they had time to come back to Israel for the program. So something like that is just so uncommon within the Israeli program, to be able to work together to make the schedule work in your favor. Work out so that it's not necessarily in your favor. Obviously, you still have classes, but work out so it's somewhat comfortable for the international students. So I think that's just an added bonus for the international program for those that are considering whether to go in Hebrew or whether to go in English. I see Yaakov Schmidman is joining us, a second-year business student, I believe. So we'll turn to you in 1 second. I'm going to answer, see if I can answer a couple questions. Is the GED exam sufficient? The GED exam is a high school equivalent exam. It is enough for high school. As in general, we require two grades, two academic scores in order to be accepted to the program. One of which is your high school grades, your high school transcript, and the other is an additional exam, either the SAT or the ACT or the psychometry or the A levels, something of that sort. So for the GED is enough to qualify as a high school transcript. You still will need another exam, such as the SAT or the ACT or the psychometry, something along those lines. I hope that answered that. Okay, Mr. Schmidman, Yaakov Schmidman, is joining us again, a second-year business administration student from Philly, right? You in Philly now?
Yeah.
All right, we're still working on getting him back to this country, but
No, I'm in Israel now.
You're in Israel. Your brother's in Philly. Okay, forgot which. I know I spoke to both of you. I forgot where each one was. Do you mind telling us how you chose Machon Lev and what you enjoy about the program?
Sure, no problem. I chose Machon Lev because I wanted to make Aliyah and I wanted to go to college in Israel, and obviously offered an English-speaking program with an opportunity to really continue both academically and the learning that I wanted to do. And thank God I've been able to really do both. I actually live right next door from Machon Lev on the YU campus as Madrich and Shraga, and learning in Grus. So it's definitely allowed me to do that. And I see even besides for myself, all my classmates, that the program has definitely afforded people to really do multiple things with their lives. So we have a lot of classmates who have jobs and are furthering their careers while doing college, and it really allows them to do that as well. And I certainly appreciate also the flexibility of the program, which has been a huge plus. I can definitely attest that the administration is always very flexible and tries to work with us to make sure that as much as they can fit our needs. So that's certainly also something that I very much appreciate. I didn't necessarily know that going in, but now that I'm here, I can definitely attest to that as well.
Amazing.
That,
Great. Thank you very much again for joining us. I'll just answer, someone else asked about transferring credits from university. So I never know how to answer whether you're want to transfer credits into Machon Lev or out of Machon Lev. I'll answer both of those questions. If you're coming, you've done another college, other college courses, and you want to transfer credits into Machon Lev, that definitely is doable. First of all, those courses, those credits have to be associated with the degree that you're studying, with the major, the degree that you're studying. So that means if you're in the business administration program, those courses need to be business administration courses, either a course in economics or in math or in finance or accounting or marketing, something along those lines. If you've taken any courses in art or history or culture, that's very nice. I'm sure it will make you a well-rounded individual, but it's not something that we would qualify as credits for our program. Same thing with computer science. It has to be a course related to computer science in order to get credit at Machon Lev. It's the reason why that is pretty simple. It's because we don't offer a liberal arts program. That means if you're in business administration, all of the courses that you will take are directly related to business administration. If you're in computer science, all those courses are related to computer science. You will never take, there are no art or history or culture courses that are offered at Machon Lev. In terms of the process, the way to do that is you would have to apply and like a regular student through the registration process. And then once you're accepted to the program, you'll send in your transcript and syllabi to the academic director of the program. He should be joining us, I think, a little bit later, probably soon on this call. And he'll review it possibly together with department heads if it needs to be. And they'll determine whether or not the course that you did is similar enough to the course that's offered at Machon Lev. If it is, you'll receive the credits for it and you'll be exempt from those courses. If not, then you will not receive those credits. So they do have to review it. In general, most of those credits do come through. We have had students that come in their first year and they're already in second year courses because they've taken those prerequisites in other college environments. In terms of transferring out, if you decide you want to come to Machon Lev and then you only want to come for a year and then you want to go to another college, that definitely is doable. Our college, every degree that's offered at Machon Lev is accredited by the Council for Higher Education in Israel, which is the national accreditation body for Israel. That means all colleges and universities in Israel are using that system to be accredited, which means that our credits should be accepted really worldwide. Anywhere you go, they should accept those college credits. Whether or not that course will be accepted is the same way that we don't accept every course. So every college has their own rules and regulations on what courses are accepted and what courses are not accepted. So you have to check with the college that you are planning to transfer to. But we have had students transfer to colleges, I would say, definitely within the US and Canada with no problem. Again, I'll just mention thank you to Yehuda, David, Daniel, and Yaakov for joining us. If anyone has any questions for current students in the program, either in business or in computers, please feel free to message me, and I'm happy to pass that along to the students that are on this call. Someone's asking, is there credit for AP tests? I don't believe so. I can check with the academic director. I don't believe that there's credit for APs given, although I would have to check that. Someone asked, is this degree a full undergraduate degree? Because there are no liberal arts courses. Yes. It's a European model. It just means that you take more courses that are related to your degree. In general, the way it works in the European model, is that you more specialize within your undergraduate degree. So for example, if you're doing computer science, you only learn computer science, and then I would say it's more common, or it's more common to not go on to a master's program, or it's less common to go on to a master's program, definitely within our program, I think within Israel in general. I'll explain just, on a tangent, why I think in Israel it's much less common to do a master's program. Number one, most students in Israel are graduating at a higher, older age, because most students are doing the army, which means that by the time they graduate, they might be married, they might have children, and they might not have the financial ability to spend another couple of years in school without working. At the same, in addition to that, I think the country recognizes that, and so there are more jobs available for students graduating with an undergrad degree, both in business and in computers, in which case, if students are faced with the question of whether I should take the job available to me or the master's degree available to me, most students end up choosing the job. So that's generally what we find. It does not mean that a master's is impossible. It does not mean that it's irrelevant. Definitely, if that's something that you're interested in, it is possible to go on to an MBA for business, or a master's degree in computer science, or to further degrees in computer science, including engineering. But again, it's less common, and I think it's less needed, definitely within Israel. What is William Erasmus? It's mentioned on our website. Erasmus is an international, it's an international, I would say, union almost, to work together to form international college programs. So we're a part of that. That means that we attend conventions with many other international schools across the world, and we learn, we try to learn from each other. So we try to tell them the good things that we're doing, they try to tell us the good things that they're doing, and we just try to improve on everything that's happening. I'll just take this moment to say hello to Professor Abba Engelberg, the academic director of the program. Professor Engelberg, can you hear us?
Yes, I hear you very well.
Great.
Good evening to everybody.
Good evening. Good evening. We were just talking about transferring credits into and out of Machon Lev, and someone also asked about AP tests. Would AP tests be counted for credits at Machon Lev? Do you know the answer?
As far as AP, assuming that the curriculum it parallels one of our courses, and assuming that the person got a grade of 75 or above, it should be accepted.
It's out of 5. It's between 1 and 5, but you can take the percentage grade of that. The AP exams are between 1 and 5.
Well, we'd have to find out, what parallels 75. Obviously, 5 would be good, and probably also 4. But again, I'd have to. That I don't know exactly what it means in terms of percentiles, but that's something that could be investigated, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
At any rate, anyone that knows the material would not be required to learn the same course again, assuming that they had a parallel syllabus and that their grade was good.
Okay, great. Let me know if anyone has any other questions. Feel free to post in the chat. I'm going to post in the chat as well, in terms of my contact information. If there are any questions that you want to ask me privately, if you want to speak to me privately, I'm happy, not just necessarily because something is a private matter, but because you want a full, complete response. I'm happy to make that happen. So please feel free to reach out by phone or email anytime. I'm going to put my contact information in the chat. It is available online as well, so I'll just show you that right now. Let's go back to here. If we went back for a second to our website, if you scroll down to the bottom under Contact Us, you should find me. Mr. Gabriel Novik, that's my email and phone number. This number is a WhatsApp number as well. Feel free to WhatsApp me anytime. And I hope to get back to you as soon as possible, but I'll put that in the chat as well. Again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask in the chat.
I wanted to, if I may have about
Yes.
2 or 3 minutes, I just want to describe the area of computers a little, because most people think that computers has to do with writing programs and sitting in front of a screen all day, which is definitely a possibility. However, there are other areas of computer which are part of our curriculum, which involves constant involvement and contact with people, if you're a people type of person. The area is called systems analysis, which we teach very thoroughly. And what it involves, going to any organization, finding out exactly how it works, talking to everyone involved, and telling them the best way to make their organization more efficient. So as I said, that is not sitting in front of a computer, it's talking with people. Of course, you have to have the background in computers, and you have to maybe be able to tell other people to write certain programs, but it isn't only, this field is not only programming. Now, other areas that we are dealing with are in the break front of what's happening right now in the next 10 years or so in terms of development. You might have heard of autonomic cars. That means a car that goes all by itself. You just program where you're going to go and it goes there. That is all arranged through what's called artificial intelligence. And that's another area that we go into. And of course, it's not only driving cars, it's also, if you go to a doctor, you might find a robot instead of a doctor, and he might be able to give you a better analysis or diagnosis than a human doctor. That's also part of artificial intelligence. And then, of course, there's the area of cyber, which is getting to be extremely important and vital to the functioning of this country. You may or may not know that a couple of weeks ago, Iran tried to poison our water system here without ever being anywhere near here. But they tried to, they broke into our computers and tried to change the program in such a way that it would have caused us to be drinking poisonous and water full of sewage and so on and so forth. So again, this is another area that we go into, and it's really in the breaking developments of modern technology. So just, you should understand that computers is not only sitting in front of a computer and writing programs. Of course, that's part of it, and it's a required prerequisite, but it doesn't mean that you're going to do your entire life.
Great. Thank you, Professor Engelberg. Again, I'll mention now, right, that Professor Engelberg is, I would say, almost insanely committed and dedicated to this program, to the international program. He is there for all of the students, hearing all of the many individual, complex, complicated scenarios, and really available to help, and really has, I would say, you know, bent over backwards and just done an insane amount for this program. And I think most, if not all, of the students know that. So that's a very.
We have students here that are also. Do we also have students this evening interested in the business program?
I believe so. I don't know, but I believe that we have students both for computers and business. I also just wanted to take the moment to mention that David says he has a cool project he can show us. So maybe we'll end with that after. But I also just want to take a moment to say that in terms of the registration process that I mentioned before, please feel free to begin that process. It's something that you can begin now and start, you know, start as you please. But it is something that does take some time. So sometimes it's just easier to get it done a little bit slowly at a time. So start with the link. You can take care of the payment later. You can take care of your documents later, but at least just to get yourself into the system, to get yourself, you know, a little bit started with the process. You can save it as you go. You can come back to it later. Don't think, oh, I have to wait till I have 3 hours of my time, to fill it out. You can start filling it out right now. As you have more time here and there, as you accumulate your documents, you could send more things in. Really just at your own pace, but I definitely would recommend, if it's something that you're considering for next year, to already really start that process. Feel free to chat with me separately, in advance if that's something, if you have more questions. But definitely it does not hurt at all to start the registration process. There really is no commitment. There is a 300 shekel registration fee, but again, you can pay that at a later time if you're not sure yet. So that's something that I'll mention. Is it possible to see is it possible to see the curriculum breakdown per semester for the business program? So I don't have it on me. I do have it saved right now on my laptop on my work computer. I think Professor Engelberg might be able to speak a little bit more in terms of the breakdown of business administration, the program, what you learn in your first couple of years, your first year, your second year, your third year.
Basically, in terms of business, our program covers the traditional areas that are connected with business, and also the newer areas. For example, the first year is devoted, I would say, to the basic courses. You start off with management in the first semester, and the second semester you have management and marketing. In the second year, you get into accounting, and then, of course, we also combine it with basic software. It doesn't mean you have to be a programmer, but you learn how to use SAP. Now, SAP itself is a big program which is used by every big company, and just being an expert in that is a profession in itself. So the second and third year, of course, you get, and then of course in the second year you also learn finance, which also is an area within business. So therefore, you've got the four basic areas of marketing, management, finance, and accounting, and the newer areas where you combine computers to do your management for you. And of course, at the end, you have a project which sort of summarizes everything you've done. And some people say that they learn more from the project than they even do from the courses. So that's basically the way the program works.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Engelberg. I'll just go to a number of questions just came in. Are there any extra classes that could be taken during the semester? If you're in theory, business and computers classes are never offered on the same time. So in theory, you can take, if you're in business, you could take computers classes. If you're in computers, you could take business classes. I say in theory because that virtually never happens. And I'll explain why. For students in the computer science program, it is a relatively, it's considered an intense full-time program. You have off on Tuesdays, and that day is usually used for work, for studying, for homeworks. I'm sure David could tell you more about the work that's required for computer science. But people oftentimes will say, oh, maybe I'll do a business course here or there. It's not something that actually pans out because it is relatively busy just doing the computer science course. In terms of the opposite, if you were in business science and taking a computers course, in theory, you do have that option. The only, I would say, caveat, or the only reason why that's not necessarily so commonly done is because a lot of the computer science courses have prerequisites. You need to have a background in math, maybe a background in digital systems, maybe a background in, the intro to C++. And if you're just coming as a computer science student, as a business student, and want to do a couple of courses in computer science, it might not be so simple. So in general, the students stick to the program either in business or in computers. There are some electives within those programs, but at the same time, again, those are the programs that people are sticking to. They're not taking courses in art, history, or culture. but also not in other fields. Not that it's not doable, just that it's very unlikely and uncommon. Someone else asks, is there a Mechina program that will prepare you for this 3-year degree? In general, there is a Mechina program that's offered in Hebrew, but it's also in general not required. If you've done your full 4 years of high school and completed high school with a full high school transcript, and in addition to that you have another test score, then you don't need to do the Mechina. So most of our students are not coming from a Mechina. Most of our students have done their 4 years of high school and either the SAT or the ACT or the psychometry or the TL or the A levels or something of that sort. So if you're missing an exam, we would probably recommend taking that exam as opposed to doing the Mechina. That's generally what we would say. Any other? I thought I saw high school. Am I eligible for credits? In general, someone's asking that they received a certain score in high school. Are they eligible for credits? In general, we don't consider high school courses eligible for college credits unless it was a certain special type of high school course that was a college level course. So you could look into that. Again, that would be done through our academic director, Professor Abba Engelberg. Anything else? Okay, I think I'm gonna I'll turn it over to David. David has a short project for those that are interested in computer science. Someone is there any way to do the computer science degree? Oh, sorry, thank you for reminding me. Someone posted the same question twice. A computer science degree in a more concentrated format. No, sorry. Right now it's the way that the courses are offered. Those courses are offered at those specific times, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. In general, again, the computer science degree is considered a full-time degree, and we just found that squeezing things together the same way we did it in business would not be conducive. It would not be helpful for students to put things together. I'm assuming that question is because you would probably also want to work and get a part-time job while doing the computer science program, and we highly discourage that. Again, like I said, the computer science program is an intensive full-time program. It's considered a full-time program, which means that you're going to need to be learning. I'll talk about learning in a second, but you will need to spend your time focused on studying for computer science. In terms of learning, that's what every morning is for. Every morning there are no classes offered. In the morning you have the ability to learn in the Beit Midrash, and that's carved out for you. That's something that we enable, and we that's something that is built in, I should say, to the schedule. In terms of other days in the week, that's not. The other days in the week really are dedicated to computer science for the computer science program. Again, thank you again for repeating your questions, because I apologize, I'm forgetting things. Would you need a master's in computer science for a good job in the States? For both computer science and business administration, I would say that it really depends. Both jobs have the ability to not need a master's. Business, I would say that a lot of it is about your personal connections, or the connections that you make at Machon Lev. Definitely professors can and will help you with jobs, but it doesn't. You don't need. No one's going to be looking at your resume, or not no one. But I think it's in the business field. It's more about getting your resume through the door, so to speak, as in getting yourself seen by people that are hiring, and that doesn't mean that you need necessarily an MBA to do that. You more need to network. You need to know people. You need to be talking to people. You need to be in touch with people, and that's something that definitely is a part of the business administration program. Also, as well, because it's more part-time, there is an internship component in the third year of the business administration program, which again, part of it is, again, you'll have work experience, which is great, but another part of it really is those networks and those connections. You'll work for someone, you'll get to know them, they'll get to know you, they'll have a network, they'll introduce you to other people, and that's usually how jobs are made within the business world. In the computer science program, computer science degree, again, I don't think, even worldwide, I don't think that a master's degree is needed. As in, I think that places will hire you without a master's degree. I think that for both in business and computer science, I think your earning potential is more significant. Definitely in the US is more significant if you have a master's degree. But I think you will be able to get a job without it. That's just my own, from my own experience of seeing where our graduates are going with and without a master's. Would I need a laptop for the business program? You don't need in truth, you don't need a laptop for either program. That being said, we heavily recommend that you do have your own computer, whether it's a laptop or a desktop. In computers as well, any course that you need a computer for will be in a computer lab. That means that we have computer labs set up where every desk has its own computer and you'll have access to those computers. That means that you don't need to bring in a computer. You don't need to have a laptop with you. At the same time, it is highly beneficial. We definitely recommend it, specifically definitely for the computer science, but for the business administration program as well. There's, I believe, a class in Excel. And it's helpful to have your own laptop. You could use the computers that are available on campus, but it's much less convenient for you. So again, I highly recommend getting a laptop. It's definitely not something that is required. David Samuels is mentioning that specifically for the computer science program, a PC is definitely recommended. Students with Macs usually have a harder time. Usually there are glitches and issues. Again, definitely not required, but something to think about if you are considering getting a computer for this. What's the difference between business administration program and the accounting information systems program? So the accounting program is available only in Hebrew, not in English, and it's specific to accounting. The business administration program offers a wide range of business topics. So you can, in theory, go on to do a CPA for accounting, but you probably would need to take a course in that so that you're more specialized, because the business administration program is much more broad and will offer a little bit, learning a little bit within each topic. Many laptops? Are there computers available for students? Yeah, so like I said, there are computers available throughout campus in the library, as well as there are computer labs in numerous different buildings on campus. So you do have access to computers and printers on campus, but again, less convenient if you're relying on those as your only computer option, but definitely is a possibility. Okay, I think, again, I posted my information and the website and everything in the chat. Feel free. I would love to be in touch. Please reach out to me. Email, phone, either way is totally fine. Hold on, I see Professor Engelberg wants to say something. Yes.
I just wanted to mention, somebody asked about a master's degree and whether you need a master's degree to work in the States. I don't know if you realize this, but our bachelor's degree, both in business and in computers, covers more or less what you would get in a master's degree in the United States. Not because we are, better than Harvard or anything, but simply because the way the academic schedule is built in Israel, you learn, if it's computers, you're learning mainly computers. You're learning 120 credits of computers. In the United States, you're learning maybe 30, 40 credits of computers. You're learning art, music, history, English composition. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Actually, it's very nice and you become very well-rounded. But just in terms of your knowledge of the subject, you're actually finishing on the master's level. And if you tried for a job, if they saw your transcript, they would see that you've had all the courses which would normally be included in master's. And the same is true of business. You will have had your marketing, your management, your accounting. You will have your heavy business programs. So you will have had all of this on an undergraduate level, and therefore you won't really, you are basically equivalent to someone that has a master's. So in fact, if you were in the States looking for a job and anybody asked if you had a master's, just show them your transcript and explain that you've had most of the courses which are learned as part of a master's degree.
Thank
That's
you.
all. I just wanted to add that point.
No, it's a good point. It's a good point. Okay. Okay, I think I'm gonna turn it over to David. Anyone that wants to know more in terms of computer science, David has a lot to say in terms of computer science. But really in the program in general, I think David's, again, in his third year of the program. He's lived in the dorms for the past 3 years. He knows the program very well. And he's been working on something. I don't even know what this is.
Yeah. So no, this is just a fun little side project I thought would be fun to share. Basically, with Corona and a lot of stuff going on, we've had a lot of classes on Zoom. So sometimes when the teachers need to, like, they don't have a whiteboard available, so they write on the screen. And for the most part, it's been getting the job done. But I was thinking it would be a lot more handy if they had access to tools like, you know, those tablets and whatnot, and special pens that you can basically write on a tablet and it just transfers it onto the computer. But those things are expensive, not very easily accessible. I was thinking, what if we use a camera and a highlighter that's closed, and you basically just wrote on your table, right? And if the camera could pick up your pen's position and transfer it over to the screen. So that's basically what I've been kind of playing around with. I was thinking we could make this a little bit interactive if people want to put in the chat how you think you might approach this problem. I'll share with you what I ended up doing. Let's see if I can't share my screen currently, but maybe I can get permissions to do that in a second.
Sorry, working on that. There you go.
Yeah, so if anybody has any ideas how you might go about it, feel free to put it in the chat. We can chat about it. But here we are. I'll just show you what we got. So I've got a webcam set up here, excuse the mess. And basically a piece of paper with some QR codes. And the program identifies the QR codes, locates the corners of the QR codes, which kind of pulls out the relevant part of the image where I could be writing. I have my capped highlighter here. And when I write on the page, it's detecting where the tip of my pen is and recording the position. So right now it's just drawing a trail, but this could then be transformed into coordinates for a mouse, for example, on screen, and then piped into whatever sort of program you'd want, like Zoom, to write like on the whiteboard. So that's basically what we got here. Any guesses as to what the steps might be to accomplish this? 1 second, I can't see the chat. Chat. Still don't see it. Oh well, if anybody says anything, Gabi can read it out to me.
I think you have to stop sharing your screen.
Oh, I have to stop sharing my screen and then I'll be able to see it? Okay, I just thought this was a fun thing to share. Let me see here, stop share. Has anybody said anything?
No.
I don't know. Anyway, so it's just a fun little side project, and thought it would be cool to share the kind of, yeah.
David, how much computer science did you know when you started the program?
So I personally came in with more experience. It's been a hobby of mine for several years, even before coming in. But the experience coming in is extremely diverse among a lot of students. Maybe like half come in with some amount of prior experience, and that kind of makes the first year a little bit easier. But after that, certainly after the first semester, it's kind of equal grounds, and people have already gotten to the level that they need to keep up with all classes. So I came in with some prior experience, but honestly, if you have the choice of experience or drive is gonna get you to the finish line 1,000 times. And just loving it and being interested in it.
Some people asked also about the whether they could do the computer science in a degree in a different format. So I would say that you definitely can't do it quicker without overburdening yourself, but you can elongate it. So the program is designed to graduate in 3 full years. But if you would like to lighten your load and stay a 4th year, that definitely is an option. I know some of our students, a number of students, it happens all the time that students either will just need a break and take a semester off, or they'll get married and they want to take a semester off and they'll come back a little bit later, so that you can do that. In general, in terms of leaving the program, at any point in time that you want to leave the program, you have the ability to come back and pick up from wherever you left off. So if you need to take a semester break, a year break, that is totally doable.
I'm also happy to answer questions about like computer science as well, in terms of the courses, and also just any people has curiosity questions. If you're always wondering how computers work and whatnot, I can maybe give you my number and send those to me privately. Or machine learning, that's what I'm hoping to do in the Army. So
yes, I'll mention the Army in 1 second, but Shmuel just asked, is it possible to spread out the business program as well? Yes. The business program in general is more part-time, so most students, I would say, do accomplish it in 3 years. But if you want to take a little bit of a lighter load, make it 1 day a week. No, I'm kidding. I mean, depending on the classes that you're not taking, in theory, you can make it 1 day a week. But the Tuesday has a lot of classes on Tuesday. And Friday, I believe there are 2 or 3 classes on Friday. But in theory, you can, not take those courses and just make it and just spread out the degree over more time, over about 4 years instead of 3, something along those lines. I do want to get back to David's point, which is also an interesting point I forgot to mention earlier. David, as I said, is going on to the Army after this program with a program called Atudai, or
Akademizacja. It's a mouthful.
Something like we'll call it Atudai for now. They're similar, related such programs, but the basic concept is for those students that are interested in doing the Army, that haven't done the Army yet, or that might be required to do the Army at some point. So specifically for the computer science program, there are a number of degrees that this would work for, but it does not work as far as I know for business. But for computer science students, you have the ability to go to school as part of your Army service and then use that degree that you learned in the Army. So for example, David is probably, I believe, going to be working in security in the Army.
Or hopefully machine learning if I can swing it. I have interviews now, basically.
Okay,
but
we'll he's going to be using his degree in computer science for the Army. That program is a little bit more intense and demanding program than the regular computer science program. What I mean by that is courses are exactly the same, but I believe you need to maintain a certain average, and you need to, there are certain checkups that you need to have with the Army throughout your degree. So if that's something that's you're interested in, it definitely is something that's doable. I'm happy to put you in touch with David, who knows more about that. But definitely is an option for people that would want to consider that.
There's a couple questions here for computer science. What types of programming languages will be taught? So straight off, C++, Java, Python, and C# are taught in depth, those specific languages. But what you'll quickly find as you experience more computer science is that programming languages are more like different dialects of the same overall fundamental language. And so what you really learn is you learn a lot of the principles using C++, using Java. You learn object-oriented programming using Java, and but at the end of the day, you're going to learn like what does it mean to be a programming language, which means that you can pick up any other programming languages that you wanted basically within a few hours of just learning whatever the words that the dialect that they happen to use. So yeah, C++, Java, Python, and C# are the ones that are taught most in depth. But ultimately, they're all kind of different forms of the same thing. And as far as what I would recommend that you study in the summer before starting a degree in computer science, I would say math. The math here is just on a higher level than at least I was taught in the States. I don't know what it's like in other countries, but they have what they call the Yechidot system in Israel, where they teach it at basically different levels. And the college math is that they call the 5th level, the top level. And so there's a they call it pre-calculus, but it's really not. It's a lot more than that. It's kind of like there's a course where you kind of gets you up to snuff on all the math level, and even things as simple as inequalities that I thought that I like knew and were put away, easy stuff. Turns out you can take them to a whole nother level. So the people who had more recent familiarity with math tended to have a smoother time. And you can look up computer science stuff, programming things, concepts and whatnot, but you really don't need to, because everything that you need to know from scratch is taught. But I would say math is probably the thing that I would recommend.
I definitely agree. I'll just echo that for business. That definitely within the business administration program, if there's anything that you can brush up on, it's math. If you have to ask me what is the hardest subject for our students, definitely within business, but also in computers, it's math. And I'll just explain the same way that David did, which is that every other subject that you will learn is not requiring any background experience except for math. Math is building. It's assuming that you know something in math already, and it is building on previous knowledge. Marketing is not going to be that way. Neither is economics. Neither is data systems. All those other subjects will be basically taught from the ground up. But math is assuming that you're coming in with a background in math. And for most of our students as well, they're coming from yeshiva, from the army, and it's been a couple of years since they've looked at anything math related. So that's definitely something I would recommend brushing up on is math. You could simply look at things that you've learned in high school or quickly do a free Khan Academy course. I'm happy to send you more information on the Khan Academy if that's something that's interesting. It's an online learning system, which is generally free. I'm happy to send you more about that if that's interesting to you. Someone asked in terms of the good question, financially, what would it look like if you spread out your degree over more years? So the truth is financially, it would cost you a little bit more. The way it works is that you pay based on the credits that you take per semester with a certain baseline. So no matter how many, I don't remember what the baseline is, it's a couple thousand shekel, but no matter how many credits that you take, you won't go below that baseline. So even if you're only taking one course, you're going to pay that baseline. So if you take, if you do the program instead of 3 years, you do it in 4 years, each of those 4 years, you're paying at least the baseline for the program. And I'll just add in that for the Oleh Chadash benefit, that will only cover 3 years of the program in terms of the tuition costs. So if you decide you want to stay on for a third year, it wouldn't cover that. So it does turn out to be a little bit more expensive if you stay on for a fourth year. Studying over the summer, statistics. Is R also taught? I don't know what R is. Is that
R is a programming language generally for statistics and whatnot. I was just typing out an answer, but basically, currently there's no courses that are teaching specifically R. There may be some electives in Hebrew, and occasionally electives will be brought from the Hebrew program to the English program. Like for example, this is just a good example of how the administration really cares about what we want. We had another networking course that we were supposed to be taking. And kind of as a group, we decided that we'd rather take an intro to artificial intelligence course. And the administration made it happen. There's required courses for the degree, and then there's elective courses that you have to fulfill. And so since the communications course was an elective, and so was the artificial intelligence one, and they were comparable credits, we were able to swap them out. So yeah, there may be some sort of elective course that teaches R. We don't currently have it, but like I said before, I mean, R is a little bit different than many of the other programming languages, but it's certainly with the tools that you gain in the other courses, you can very easily learn R and apply the other skills that you learn. 3D graphics and visualization. That's really funny that you should mention that, because we have a course which is Intro to Software Engineering, and the goal of the course is to teach how to build scalable software and how to approach big projects. And the example that they use, basically the mini project that we built, is a graphics engine from scratch, like in Java. So that's where they're teaching us Java, they're teaching us software engineering, and the example that we're doing on it is what's called a ray tracing graphics engine. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Without going into too much detail, we basically built from the very, very basic mathematical operations, we built software that could render 3D images and 3D scenes from scratch in high quality graphics, with lighting simulations and all that kind of stuff. I ended up taking it a little bit further and turning it into animations and virtual reality and stuff. It was a lot of fun. So funny you should mention that. I don't know exactly where you're leading with that question, but we do actually create your own 3D graphics engine from scratch.
I have to admit, in case it hasn't become obvious yet, that I do not personally have a background in computer science at all. My background is more in business. So some of the business topics I could speak about, but I certainly cannot speak about anything computer science related, the specifics of it at least. So definitely that's something that you're welcome to speak to David more about, or to Professor Alba Engelberg, our academic director.
Regarding R, oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah, regarding R, just to throw it out there, we did actually have a course in, it's called computational mathematics, which is essentially using programming to approach mathematical problems, including statistical problems. We did actually do that in Python using NumPy, though there's many, many different tools that you could use, MATLAB, Octave, and whatnot. So we did actually have a course that addressed kind of like the problems that you would use R for, and we just did it with Python and Matplotlib, and I don't know if anybody's heard of any of this stuff, but yeah.
Okay, just someone else asked a question. Can international students take the Hebrew Math Mechina, and when is that? Yes, in theory you can. I believe there's a separate cost for that. I don't know because it's not in the international program, but I'm happy to find out for you if that's something you're interested in. I believe it's offered in Elul, I believe, or maybe over the summer. I would have to check into that to find out when it's offered. But if you're interested, then please feel free to be in touch with me and I'll find out more information from the registration department. I think, again, everyone hopefully has my information. You can get my information online. Please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help each of you. And I'm happy to answer any of the questions that we haven't answered here on this call. But I think at this point, I don't want to keep anyone too late or early or whatever time it is where you live. But really just want to thank everyone again for participating. And hopefully, really want to make, whatever option it is work for you in terms of college. I want to talk about, the possibility of coming to Machon Labs to the international program. I think it really is an amazing program. And I'd love to explore that option with you. So feel free to be in touch. I'm happy to put you in touch with any of the people on this call, the students, the academic director, the vice president. So again, feel free to follow up by email or by phone anytime. All right, I'll say goodbye. Thank you again, David, for being here.
Thank you, my pleasure.
And have a good night. Shabbat Tov to everyone.